Okay, number 11 asks us about concavity. So that means you have to take the second derivative. And of course, this is not like a beautiful function. So I don't know whether you want to multiply that 1/2 out. I think I might. Combine, well, let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to combine this because either way you have to do the product rule. So I'm going to rewrite f of x to, I have 1/2 times 2x, e to the x. So I'm just going to multiply the 1/2 and the e to the x and the 2. So wouldn't that be x e to the x minus 5/2 e to the x minus 2x. So when I take the derivative, this has to use the product rule. So f prime of x would be equal to 1 times e to the x plus x e to the x. And then this would be, check this out, this is 5/2 e to the x, so minus 5/2 e to the x. So that's your normal, nothing else, no baby on there, minus 2. So then the second derivative would be e to the x plus this again, right? E to the x plus x e to the x minus this again, which would be the same thing, 5/2 e to the x. So now we're supposed to set that equal to 0 and see where concavity is, but we can combine these two. We have 2e to the x plus x e to the x minus 5/2 e to the x. So let's pull out e to the x. So f prime prime of x is equal to e to the x, and then it's 2 plus x minus 5/2. So I guess I could have combined those two, right? So e to the x, and then that's 4/2 minus 5/2, so x minus 1/2. So x, and you set that equal to 0. And so now I'm over here, or up here, e to the x, or x minus 1/2, and those equal 0. So this is never, so you won't get anything there, but x equals 1/2. So you have one possible point of inflection, but you have to check it. You can't just say it is. And there's no place where the second derivative doesn't exist or the first derivative doesn't exist. So it's just 1/2. And so we have to go back to our second derivative, which was this guy right here, and test it. So let's put in 0. E to the 0 is 1. And 1 times 0 minus 1/2 would be negative. And then let's put in 1. It'd be e times, which is positive. E to the 1 is e. And 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. So that's positive. So you do have a point of concavity. And where will it be concave up? Well, it's going to be greater than 1/2. So the answer is D.